Dear colleagues, I'd like to know if you hear me. Could you please write in the chat if you do hear me or no? Yes. Oh, great. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Today I represent Evgeny Andreevich Khalyadin, who is currently in Vladivostok with Anastasia. They've been presenting on our project there at the local conference, so now they are sleeping, I hope, because it's 3 in the morning in Vladivostok. So today I am to moderate this webinar. And before we start, we have about 6 minutes before we start. And first of all, I'm happy to greet all the participants. Hello from Yekaterinburg. And today we continue our series of webinars within the project Appreciating Diversity. And before we start, I'd like to remind you of the fact that you can watch all the recordings of the previous webinars on our website. That is Diverse Russia, one word, yeah, Diverse Russia, ru.ru. And our next webinar is to take place on January 31st, and it will be devoted to iBooks author platform for developing lessons and teaching materials for iPads. It will be conducted by Evgeny Khalyadin from Gubkinsky. And today I'm happy to announce our speaker. Our speaker today is Elena Babina from Gubkin. She is the president of Gubkin English Language Teachers Association, and she is an EFL teacher. So as you know, she's going to present on developing materials for teaching cultural diversity. So we have 4 more minutes. And before we start, I'd like you to just write a couple of words in our chat saying where you're from. I see a lot of people from different regions. There is a great variety. I see people from Taganrog, Novosibirsk, Tula, Moscow, Tula region, Astrakhan, Khmau, Vyazma, oh, Chelyabinsk region, Zlatoust, Gubkin, Tula region. Okay, great. Yaroslav. Oh, hello, Melissa. Nice to see you. Yekaterinburg, Новый Urengoy. Great. Okay, could you just write a couple of words about the weather in your region? Vologda. Great. I've just arrived from Moscow, and it was 2 below zero there when I was leaving, and when I arrived in Yekaterinburg a couple of hours ago, it was not very nice to learn that it's 19 below zero here. Noyabr is great. I've been there. Yeah, it's warm in Moscow. 33 in Novosibirsk. Great. 33. Okay, so I think our presenter is ready to join us. So say hello to Yelena. Hello, Yelena. So 2 more minutes.
Hello. Hello, Elena. Thank you for moderator. Okay.
Okay, so dear participants, could you please write in the chat if you hear Elena? Elena, say more words, please. Say something.
Hello, dear colleagues. Thank you for joining us today. I do hope that you can hear me, and as well as you have heard Yelena several minutes ago. Well,
good. So everyone, I hope hears you. So we have one more minute, so please go on chatting for a minute, and then we'll start.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am really glad to meet you all online, and today we are to talk about digital storytelling. And you can see that digital storytelling is connected in our today's presentation with developing materials for teaching cultural diversity. Unfortunately, I would like to begin with not the topic of my presentation, but with very sad news and about the loss in the English language community. Probably you know that several days ago we lost the editor-in-chief of the English newspaper, Alona Gromushkina, and I do hope that we can do a lot to commemorate her and do a lot to commemorate what she did for almost all teachers in our country. She created a wonderful magazine for English language teachers. It's really a great loss for multi community and for many teachers in our country. Well, and as I have mentioned already, today we are going to talk about digital storytelling. And could you write in public chat, how do you define the word storytelling? How do you understand it? What is storytelling? Narrative, okay. Telling stories. Well, that's great. Narrative, telling stories, to tell a story, speaking activity. I think your answers are quite correct. But if we are going to talk about digital storytelling, is there any difference between digital and storytelling and digital storytelling? What do you think about any differences? Online stories, okay. Using IT tools, great. Stories on CD, ICT, well, digital one connected with computer program, web tools. Yes, are you familiar with digital storytelling? Have you ever used digital storytelling in your teaching practice? I can see one answer is yes, Victoria. Tatiana Nosreva. Some of you are not sure or have never used digital storytelling. Some of you have heard about it. Okay, well, let's begin. And I would like to begin with quotation about digital storytelling by Mark Stanley, and he wrote that digital storytelling is more powerful than other forms of storytelling because the digital format immediately makes a student's knowledge available to a global audience. It's almost the same as you have already mentioned in your answers on the in the chat. And stories bring us together, encourage us to understand and emphasize and help us to communicate. And long before paper and books were common and affordable, information passed from generation to generation through this oral tradition of storytelling. And we can consider digital storytelling as the 21st century version of the age-old art of storytelling. With a tiny twist, digital tools now make it possible for anyone to create a story and share it with the world. Well, digital storytelling refers to a short form of digital media production that allows everyday people to share aspects of their life story. And how do you understand, or how do you define the word media? Is it the same as newspaper or magazine, or is meaning a bit broader in your opinion? TV, okay. Magazines and newspapers, and most of you think that it's broader than only newspapers and magazines. And you're quite right. Media may include the digital equivalent of film techniques. I mean, full motion video with sound, animation, stills, audio only, or any of the other forms of non-physical media. Material that exists only as electronic film as opposed to actual paintings or photographs on paper, sounds stored on tapes or CDs, movies stored on film, and individual can use to tell a story or present an idea. Storytelling has always been a significant part of the story, as I have already mentioned, but the means through which the stories have been told has evolved with each civilization. From the oral histories presented by bards in ancient courts to the works of scribes during the Renaissance to newspapers, CNN, and now the internet, personal narrative has been used to communicate the event of the past. And digital media nowadays combines tradition with technology, and it allows students to tell stories through voice, text, images, or audio and video. So, why digital storytelling? Digital stories allow students to take a linear series of events and turn them into a great experience. It encourages them to communicate, to collaborate, and research, as well as to infuse media into the process. And digital storytelling is a great way to integrate technology and engage our students to deeper thinking about the curriculum, as well as help them become powerful communicators in today's digital world. And the process of crafting the digital story builds communication, creativity, visual and sound literacy, and project management skills. Do you think that are these skills are really important to our students? I mean, the skill to communicate, to create something, visual and sound literacy, and of course, management. Are these skills really important only for teachers, for educators? Okay, I see that you all agree with that all these skills are really important nowadays, and it seems to me that they were really important in the past. And digital stories push students to become creators of contents, and they are not consumers nowadays. And weaving together images, music, text, and voice, digital stories can be created in all content areas and at all grade levels, while incorporating the 21st century skills of creating, communicating, collaborating. And movies created over a century ago represent the beginning of digital storytelling. Are there any ideas for digital storytelling in your own classroom? You gave your own definitions of storytelling and digital storytelling. And can you suggest something or area, or probably the topic of your classes lessons where you can use digital storytelling or storytelling itself? Are there any ideas? Probably one topic where storytelling can be used. Creative writing, histories of some inventions. I do have a I do see a very interesting answer. Creative writing, Tatiana. It's really very interesting, and I do think that digital storytelling is very important to develop writing skills and develop students' creativity. And creative writing is one of the topics I think we teach our students not only during our everyday classes, but in out-of-class activities. Well, British and American culture stereotypes, speaking about families, sharing about families. Okay. Listen to fairy tales, great. Probably at the end of my presentation, I'll give you one link to fairy tales and to books which were recorded by famous American people. Okay, making stories, great. And here is a list of my ideas how to integrate digital storytelling into your curriculum. You can create a virtual tour of a country or historical place, or create a public service announcement of an important local or world issue, or simulate an interview of a historical character, simulate a debate on historical topics, create a presentation based on images of local artifacts and architecture. Can you continue this list? What can you create? Probably one idea. In your chat, you mentioned topics when you can use digital storytelling, and how can you use digital storytelling to integrate this or to teach this or that topic? What can you create teaching, for example, British and American culture or stereotypes? Project work, okay. What can you create with a report? A report on current events, okay. Essays, videos, great. Cartoon character, interviews, great ideas and very interesting suggestions. Thank you. And what do we need to integrate digital storytelling into our curriculum? Of course, we need different tools and different applications which are available nowadays. You can find them for your mobile phones, for tablets, for laptops, and there are a lot of them to be used to create your projects, and all of them enable students to gain a deeper understanding of history, of people around them, because they can explore the most effective way to retell the story, to present themselves, to introduce them to other people, to present their own culture, to tell about their own community. And one of the tools I would like present to you today is digital storyteller. It's an easy one, and it's a web-based tool that offers teachers and students access to digital images and materials, and enable them to construct compelling and very personal narratives. And digital storyteller was developed as an initiative of primary access. It's free, and you can try it after our webinar, and I do hope that you will enjoy and use it in your classes. One more tool is called Video, and I hope that you can guess that it helps you to create video films, and it's very easy to use. It's really powerful. It's a very creative tool, because you can use templates, and you can create your own personal videos. You have an access to the cloud. It's a cross-platform. It means that you can use it on any device and any modern browser, and you can publish the result of your work everywhere. For example, YouTube, Facebook, or you can use Google Drive. I suggest you to try it after our today's webinar. It seems to be that our kids, our students, and teachers are very keen on iPad apps, and I would like to suggest you several apps for iPad and for mobile phones. You can see the description of these tools on the slide, and one of them is called Telegami, and students can create quick animations that liberate them from the physical world, and it allows them to create an avatar and their own custom background, and as well as to have the avatar speak with the student's voice or via text-to-speech programs. And students can place the avatars in all sorts of interesting places. They can have their avatar sit, for example, on a library bookshelf, or stand on the ocean floor, and students can create their own cartoons and probably dialogues and so on. Another app you can use, Videolicious, and it allows students to edit their video in very quickly and easily. And this app is being used by reporters from newspapers, for example, reporters from Washington Post, and they use it to capture and report news quickly. And I suggest you to try this app or ask your students to do it. And students can create, with the help of this application, students can create their own video films very easily, quickly, and feel themselves real experts. The third one, Screen Chomp, it's You can just put your own picture and make your students talk about the picture or draw on the top of the picture, and they can record the result of their work. And this app allows the authentic communication of learning as students are able to show process and understanding. And several more. The first one on this slide, Animoto. I do like this app very much because I use it as an educator, and it's free. I usually create different short films for my lessons and for different projects. It's easy. You can what you need a set of pictures, and probably you are to think about the text if you need it, or you can record and create a voiceover film. Puppet Pals, from the title of this app, you can see that it's for primary school students probably, but I am sure that even the students even in the 11th grade do like this app because it allows you to move puppets and record your voice, and you can create a fantastic story. It's really a fantastic tool, and I also suggest you to use it. And here is an overview of digital storytelling apps for mobile devices. I do have a question to you. What devices do you use in your teaching practice? Only laptops, computers, or other devices? Or what devices do you consider the most helpful? iPad, iPod, great. Victoria, do all students in your class have iPads? Interactive boards, mobile phones? It's also my dream to have iPads for each student in the classroom. Computers, tablets, smart boards. Okay. So I do hope that this overview will be really helpful for those who use mobile phones, for those who use iPads, because you can see here is a set of apps for Android devices, and they are free. You can use them to create your own video. And on the next slide, you can see devices for iPad and several devices for laptop. There are a lot of them, and of course, not only devices are very important in our work, but to create your own films, stories, cartoons, projects, dialogues, you do need a lot of other resources. And if you remember, digital story includes text, audio, images, and they should be used. You should combine them all. And on this slide, you can see media resources which suggest you a database of images or photo or video, and you can try them. Probably Flickstorm is familiar to some of you, and I'm sure that the Library of Congress catalog of online resources is really familiar to teachers of English, because you can find there a lot of thousands of photos, pictures, and for any topic you are to teach your students. And Flick is it seems to me that Flick is also very often used by our students, and there you can find a lot of photo and video, and you can share your own photo video via this website. And Wikimedia Commons is not widely used in our country, I think, but it's really very popular, and it's a public domain, and it suggests you a lot of different images. You can use National Archives, where you can find digital documents, and you can print them. You can use them for free, and it's great. Well, what do we need to use to apply digital storytelling in our classroom curriculum? There are several steps, and the first one is come up with an idea and write a proposal. At the beginning of our webinar, I asked you to write your ideas, write your own topics where digital storytelling can be used. And that was the first step of creating digital stories. The next one is researching, exploration, and learning. The next step includes writing and creating a script for your future digital story. Step 4, and it's called a storyboard plan. Step 5, and here you can see you are to gather, you are to create images, audio, or video. The next step includes combining or putting all your things, images, audio, video together. Step 7, you are to share the result of your work. And the 8th step is really very important: feedback and reflection. And now let's discuss all these steps, and we are to begin with the description of great digital stories. Why are they really great? They are really personal, and you are to begin your digital story with the script. You can use readily available source materials. You can include universal story elements, and you can involve collaboration at a variety of levels. Do you agree that digital stories are readily available source of materials? Do you think that they can involve collaboration? I do hope that you do agree with me, because you mentioned in your answers that you can use digital stories to create films, cartoons, to discuss topics about families, about diversity, and a lot of other topics. And they are really personal, because when we are talking about British and American writers, does it mean that we are talking only about other countries? No. Students choose topics, and they choose writers they would like to share their opinion about with their friends, with their teacher, and so on. So that's why the first statement that digital stories are personal is the first one. Of course, you can rearrange these ideas, and it will be really interesting to see your list of ideas. So the first step is start with an idea. What should we do to start our story? All stories begin with an idea, and digital stories are no different. This idea could be the topic of a lesson, a chapter heading in a textbook, or a question asked in class. And digital stories might be fiction or non-fiction, and once you or your students have an idea, make it concrete, you can write a proposal, you can craft a paragraph, you can draw a mind map, or you use any other pre-writing tools. And you can see useful resources and graphic organizers. Have you ever used graphic organizers in your teaching practice? And what for? Have you used them and what for? What are your answers? Can you write in a public chat? No answers? And probably mind maps. I see. Melissa loves graphic organizers. Well, mind maps for revision. Great. Well, and well, so graphic organizers are really useful in because they help you to teach your students vocabulary, and you can arrange the material in a graphic way or like a mind map. And in primary school we teach our students to have their own vocabularies, and sometimes there is no use of them, and I'm sure that students enjoy creating their own organizers, and they are really helpful in their learning practice. Well, Melissa writes that she uses them during reading. Okay, great. The next step is researching and exploration and learning. And why is this step really important? Whether writing a fiction or non-fiction digital story, students need to research, explore, or learn about the topic in order to create a base of information on which the story will be built. And during the process, students learn both about information they are aware of and information which is difficult for understanding or was unknown to them, and they try to find new ideas, new resources of information to present their topic to other people. And at this stage, organization is really important, and you can use mind mapping to help students keep track of information. Outlines, index cards, and online note-taking tools will work more than well. And if students can organize their information digitally, then it makes the next step much easier. The next step is connected with writing and a script. And I suggest you try several resources. Here they are: read, write, think, note taker, mind mapping. I do often use mind mapping in my own practice, and probably these resources are familiar to some of you. Well, the next step is writing a script. When you are trying to write, there is nothing worse than a blank sheet of paper. And that's why I strongly encourage the pre-writing step above. And if students have a proposal or with a little bit of editing, it can become the introduction. And if students research and explore a topic well, the body of the script should fall into place like a jigsaw puzzle, and the pieces are already there, and your students just need to make them fit. And this also the time during this step where literary decision come into play, and you can ask your students to determine whether they will use a first, second, or third person. And of course, you can challenge them to expand word choices. And of course, I suggest you try several internet resources, and you can see them on the slide. And I do hope that you'll find at least one of them very useful. The next step is connected with creating a storyboard or writing a plan. And no doubt that good stories start with a good script, but they don't end there. And this is where we transition into visual media literacies. Storyboarding is the first step towards understanding sound and images. And it is the plan that will guide decision making about images, video, and sound. And simple storyboards will just have room for images, video, and the script. More advanced students might even include room for transition and background music. And here you can see links to internet resources which can help you to create your own story maps or storyboards, and the links to storyboarding templates. And I would like to share my own storyboard, which was used during our digital project Let's Save the World, the Red Book of My Native Land. And it includes the number of slides. Usually I ask my students to create not more than 10 slides. Then the next is the title of the slide, the content, storytelling. It means they are to write at least words they would like to use in their during their digital story. Images and resources. It's very important to share to save all the links to all texts, images, to include them into the last slide of your presentation. And here you can see the note. The first slide is the title slide. On the second one, you are to put the plan of your digital story. On the third one, you are to write the main idea of your story. On the eighth slide, you can write the conclusion, and the ninth one can be used for as a closing one, where you can thank your students, your audience for listening, and so on. And of course, as I have already mentioned, resources, don't forget about them. Here is my storyboard template, and I do like it, and must using it for the last 3 years. It's very easy. Before creating our own digital, okay, the whole it's very easy. Before creating our own digital, okay, the whole problems with my presentation, no problems. Okay, and here are additional guidelines you are to follow, you are to use, and it's very important. I have already mentioned that you are to keep a record of all resources, of all sources you use in both writing your script or in creating your digital stories. Of course, it's very important to include a slide at the end of your project with the reference to sources you used. And the references should contain as much information as you have about the material, such as the name of the authors, the work where the material originated. You can include the name of the book, magazine, newspaper, the date the work was written, and of course the web page where the information was found. Of course, if you found the information in the internet. very easy to follow, but really very important. The next step is gathering and creating images, audio, and video. And using storyboard as a guide, students still gather or create images, audio, and video. Everything they choose will impact and set the tone for their digital story. This is also a great time to talk about copyrights or fair use, and students should use this time to record themselves reading their scripts. I have noticed that students rewrite their scripts as they record. So this step is in the process, and they become aware of mistakes and of word choice, and it's really useful. I think nowadays when we are to teach our students to be ready for our Russian state exam, they are to read the text, and they are to speak to, and so on. And I think while creating digital stories, students can practice their reading skills, not only writing skills. And here you can see a list of useful resources which can be used during this step to create or to gather images, audio, or video. Well, the next step is called Put It All Together. And frankly speaking, I love this stage because this is usually when students are engrossed in their work, and they don't leave when the bell rings, or they come back after school to work on their project if they have no opportunity to continue or finish their projects at home. And of course, students will find ways to push their technology and tools beyond my own expectations as a teacher and your expectations as educators. Blending, it's very important to teach them blend images, create unique transition between video clips, incorporating music or sound effects. And sometimes it seems to me that students can teach me a lot while creating digital stories. And here is a list of useful resources which can be used while on this stage. And here you can see iMovie, and Yelena has mentioned at the beginning of our today's webinar that the next one will be devoted to the use of iMovie. Well, rubrics. I also use this stage to provide students with a rubric to make them understand what is necessary for a completed project, as well as how to push themselves beyond the expectations. And again, I suggest you useful resources where you can create or find ready-made rubrics for your classes. Well, the next step is called sharing or share. And sharing online has become deeply embedded in our culture. And we share everything, anytime, everywhere. And review your school or your district probably use policy and look for a way to share your student stories with a broader audience. It's very important to think about personal information, and you are to have the permission, the written permission of students' parents to use and to share the results, even the results of your students' work. Don't forget about it. And if you share the results of students' work, of course, it raises students' motivation, and they would like to make the result of the final project more interesting, and it's really important to inform as I have already mentioned, to inform the students' parents that you would like to share the results of your students' work, for example, on the school website. And for sharing, you can use YouTube or any other possible resource. And the last step is called reflection and feedback. What questions we are to ask our students, and what questions students should ask themselves. What did I learn? What do I know about myself? How can I do better next time? Of course, you can think about any other questions, and you can ask your students other questions to find more information about their work, about their projects, about their mood, their feelings, and so on. And too often in our teaching practice, we do not teach, or we do not allow time for reflection and feedback. And students need to be taught how to reflect on their own work and give feedback to others. It's really more important to reflect on the results of a joint work or on the project of their group mates or classmates. And this reflection, this feedback should be very constructive and really valuable. Not only the phrases like, I do like your project is really interesting. I do think it's not enough, and sometimes we are sometimes we are to get negative reflection or feedback from our students, from our peers. And here I also suggest you several useful resources you are to use in your on this stage. Well, what steps should be done to record and add narration to your slideshow? I've mentioned several web resources which can be used to create your digital stories. And the easiest one, I think, is PowerPoint, which is available on any computer, on any laptop, I think. I'm not sure. I do want to ask you, do you hear me? Because I can see the still image, my still image, and I'm afraid that I do have problems with broadcasting. Yes, you hear me. Great. Well, so, well, thank you. It was just to check. Well, if you are planning to create a video with your presentation or use narrations and timings, it's a great way to make it less static. Now I can see the static video, my own static video. Okay. Well, you can use audio narration to archive and so that presenters or absentees can review the presentation later and hear any comments which were made during the presentation. You can also record your use of the laser pointer in the slideshow together with your narration during a show. And to do this, you are to turn your mouse into a laser pointer. And what should you do to add narration into your slideshow? When you add a narration to a slide, you can see a sound icon here on the slide, and it appears on the slide, and with any sound you can click the icon to or set the sound automatically. Here not too sure. If I can share.
So, dear participants, you will be able to see this webinar in the recording and get all the links at diverserussia.ru. Everything will be available and you will be able to watch it as many times as you wish. So don't worry. Okay, so let's thank Elena for a wonderful presentation. And so while you're asking questions, if you have any, please write any questions you have. Elena, please don't leave us yet. So, and while you're asking questions, I'd like to tell you that our next webinar is scheduled for the 31st of January, 8 p.m. Moscow time, and it will be devoted to using iBooks author platform for developing lessons and teaching materials for iPads. And I'm happy to announce that in February we start the second series of our webinars, and we have invited great speakers, and the topics highlighted will be the most interesting. So we invite you to participate, and you will be able to get the second certificate for participation in this second series of our webinars. So the first webinar is scheduled for February the 7th. It will be devoted to using Blogster platform for creating online posters. The next webinar is scheduled for the 19th of February. Please mark your calendars, since 19th of February is not Saturday. Our speaker is really busy because she's a brilliant EFL teacher and she's a national exam expert, so she'll be able to speak only on the 19th of February. It's Thursday. And she's going to speak about creative ways of teaching culture. Please mark your calendars and don't miss the seminar. The seminar on the 21st of February will be devoted to teaching to meet new education standards, and the speaker will be Elena Nikolaevna Solovova. That is our national exam expert. Yeah, she's the head of the FIPI team, the team that creates materials for so-called YEGE, and you will be able to ask questions you are interested in. So that's all I wanted to tell you, and I will post the link for the next webinar so that you could go and register. And please, Yelena, have you seen any questions asked, the ones you can answer now? Yelena?
Yelena, I'm looking through the chat and I'm trying to find the questions to answer them.
Okay, so we will wait for about five more minutes, and if there is nothing to answer, Okay. Dear colleagues, thank you very much for participating once again. And if you have questions, I think Elena wouldn't mind if you find her on Facebook and ask your questions there. And once again, I'd like to tell you that you can find all the webinars that we have already conducted at our web page, that is diverserussia.ru. And this webinar you'll be able to find there as well in a couple of days, not earlier, because our colleague Evgeny Andreevich Kaladin is coming from Vladivostok the day after tomorrow. So as soon as he returns home, he will download